Professor Humphrey Nwosu, with due respect to him, because it's now late, does not deserve to be immortalized.
Who really is Professor Humphrey Nwosu? Professor Nwosu is a notable Nigerian. He was given birth to on the 2nd of October 1941. He was a professor of political science in the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He served on the cabinet for Mr. Samson Omoruwa, governor of the old Anambra State. He helped traditional rulers gain their staffs of office, receive salaries, and settled inter- and intercommunal disputes. He also served as the chairman of the Federal Technical Committee on the application of civil service reforms in the local government. It must be noted that President Babangida appointed Professor Nwosu as the chairman of Inec in 1989. This became the highlight of Professor Nwosu's illustrious career, as he was saddled to take charge and oversee the most controversial election in Nigeria's history. The election took place in 1993, which is said to be the fairest and freest election in the history of Nigeria, where Chief Moshood Abiola reportedly won. Professor Nwosu's commission introduced the A4 voting system and the open ballot system. Professor Nwosu was releasing many of the results when he was ordered to stop further announcements by the military regime, headed by President Babangida. After the death of Nwosu in 2024, the Southeast Caucus of the Nigerian Senate, spearheaded by Senator Abiribi, proposed to immortalize Professor Nwosu by renaming the Inec head office in Abuja after Professor Nwosu for his great achievement in conducting the fairest election of Nigeria's history. This was met with a lot of hot emotions in the Senate, where a lot of senators had a lot to say because of the emotions of 1993. Here are some of the videos. Watch.
Let us not distort facts. It's very disappointing that some of us should be distorting facts just because Professor Humphrey Nwosu is an Igbo man. Was it Justice Professor Humphrey Nwosu that made the military cabal to throw Nigeria into confusion? It is highly unfair, despite the pressure from Babangida government, despite the court order, Mr. President, allow me, despite the court order by Justice Ibeme that stopped the election, despite all the threats from the military cabal, the man still went ahead to conduct the freest and fairest election. Our personal biases, our personal sentiments, and our party affiliations to influence what we are doing here. So far I'm concerned, during the June 12 presidential election, I was a presiding officer. And yes, I just came out from secondary school. I was the presiding officer in that election. That election has been adjudged up to today the freest and fairest election in the history of Nigeria. Mr. President, any Nigerian that googles internet, which election is the freest and fairest election in Nigeria, is the June 12 presidential election. Professor Humphrey Nwosu, a professor of political science from the prestigious University of Nigeria, a civil servant, before he was appointed in 1989, did his best, despite the pressure from Babangida government, despite the court order, Mr. President, allow me, despite the court order by Justice Ibeme that stopped the election, despite all the threats from the military cabal, the man still went ahead to conduct the freest and fairest election. Was it Professor Humphrey Nwosu that made Justice Saleh from Katangum Emirate from Bauchi to annul the election? Was it Justice Professor Humphrey Nwosu that made the military cabal to throw Nigeria into confusion? It is highly unfair. One of my colleagues mentioned about the honor is it because he belongs to a particular political party. Let us not distort facts. It's very disappointing that some of us should be distorting facts just because Professor Humphrey Nwosu is an Igbo man.
Thank you very much.
Allow this motion to
thank you, sir.
Arrest my case.
Thank you. Please, order, please.
This is one issue I have tried as much as possible to avoid. Yesterday, when my brother, Senator Abaribe, brought this matter up, I took up and said, no, I will not allow this to happen. Because he's about to remind me a very sad memory. And I'm speaking not along party line or ethnic or whatsoever, as I've watched and listened to the contribution thus far. Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, as a result of the action and inaction of Professor Humphrey Nwosu, I lost my immediate junior brother. He died right behind me for him refusing to do or carry out his duty as Inec chairman. Mr. President, many of my colleagues have stood up here and said he conducted the free and fairest election. There are three different meanings and three different interpretations that we should look at: conducting election, releasing results, and announcing results. Yes, he conducted the results, the election. Yes, school of thought said he releases all the results. But you and I know releasing results is not the same thing as announcing results. He failed at the critical moment when he's supposed to salvage this democracy. Today we celebrate Abiola, or those people who have contributed to the success story of June 12, because they laid their life, they put their life on the line. If he is coward to withdraw in doing what is right at the critical moment, I think my brothers here should be fair enough. We are not saying you should not bring his matter up. And as my colleague have said, everybody that we have put before us that should be honored, we have celebrated them here. And don't forget, this is the highest lawmaking body of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where we should see ourselves as one and one Nigeria. Professor Humphrey Nwosu, with due respect to him, because it's now late, does not deserve to be immortalized as one of the very few Nigerians that have done the right thing. And I want to plead with my colleague. As I've said, I'm not speaking along the ethnicity line, along the party line, but I'm speaking as Nigeria.
The reactions in the Senate shows the kind of emotions that is still being attached to the 1993 elections. And we can understand the point of these separate parties. Understanding Nwosu produced one of the fairest elections in the history of the country, and that ought to be commended. On the other side, on the receiving party of the 1993 elections are saying that Professor Nwosu not announcing the winner of that election has robbed Chief Abiola of his right to lay a claim on that said fairest elections. These are very controversial issues. What is your opinion about this?